Actually, Jared does not have any statues
I didn't
or
set anything up today.
representations
Sorry.
or anything like that. So
Next week. Hopefully we'll be here.
okay. So we're on Test Vav Amud Beis. We did not make it to the Mishnah last or 2 weeks ago, but we'll try in Yirtzeh Hashem to get past the Mishnah tonight. Okay. So what are we going to do? We're going to go as follows. Okay, 15b1. 15b1. The last thing that we learned was the statement of Rav, where Rav said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines down from the top. Hashochet lachola b'Shabbos. That if a person shechs for a chola, here we're talking about a person who is a chola sheyesh bo sakana. We're talking here about a person who is deathly ill, and the shochet is caring for this individual, and he knew that this individual was sick. Well, let's just say that he shechted for this individual who became sick on Shabbos, deathly ill on Shabbos. So as far as the chola goes, there's no problem. The chola can certainly eat the meat. Why? Because if a person is in a situation of sarkanos nefashos, so he's allowed to violate any and all Shabbos restrictions. So certainly the shochet, who's in charge of caring for this person is a chola sheyesh bo sakana, he can certainly shech this animal. So the shochet can shech the animal, there's no problem, and the chola can eat the animal. However, aser lebari, a person who is healthy cannot eat this animal. Why can the healthy person not eat the animal? So the halacha is that when Shabbos began, the sick person wasn't sick. Or maybe he was not feeling well, but he wasn't a chola sheyesh bo sakana. So when Shabbos began for the shochet, this animal wasn't food. This animal was an animal to hang around. Only after the person became a chola sheyesh bo sakana, did the animal then become food. But when Shabbos began, in the shochet's mind, the animal wasn't food. And if the animal wasn't food, then the animal is muktzah. So certainly the shochet's allowed to shecht it because he has to care for a person who is in sakanos nefashos. Certainly the chola can eat it because he's in sakanos nefashos. But a bari, a person who's healthy, can't eat it because for him it's muktzah. Rav continued and said, "Hamavashel lachola b'Shabbos," but a person who cooks for a chola on Shabbos, meaning I have a person who's in my care and he's a chola, and I have to cook something for him on Shabbos. We're not necessarily talking about cooking meat, although it could be meat, it could be anything, right? But we're not talking about shechting here. We're talking about cooking on Shabbos. Cooking on Shabbos is a malacha. So cooking on Shabbos is allowed for a chola. This person, hey Bart, how are you? This person became deathly ill on Shabbos, so I can clearly cook for this person on Shabbos. And under those circumstances, mutter labari. Under these circumstances, a healthy person can eat the food. Right? A healthy person can eat the food. 15b1. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're 7 lines down from the top of the page. Rav, we just learned through Rav's statement. Okay, one more time. What does Rav say about a person? Here's the scenario. A person becomes deathly ill on Shabbos and needs to eat meat. Answer these questions for me. Can the shochet shecht?
Yes.
Why?
Yeah. Because he's taking care of an ill person.
A deathly ill person. Shochet can shecht. Can the chola eat?
Yes.
Why?
Because otherwise he's going to die.
Otherwise he's going to die. It's a chola sheyesh bo sakana. Can a healthy person eat from that animal?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Shabbos. That's
Yes.
what they're fighting about.
No, I would say yes.
Rav says no.
The answer
Rav
is
says no.
because they're not that
Why?
ill.
Why not? Not because they're not deathly ill.
Because the meat wasn't edible before Shabbos. It didn't
Because-
have a status. It was
Not that the meat wasn't edible, but when Shabbos began, the animal was
Muksa.
an animal.
right.
Right? In other words, nobody was thinking about this animal as food when Shabbos began. So therefore, for the healthy person, that animal is muktzah. Go ahead, Elliot.
But that would imply that if the chola was sick before Shabbos, and you didn't prepare the meat before Shabbos, for whatever reason, and so you go chef for the chola on Shabbos, you already had in mind to kill that animal for the chola on Shabbos, that means the healthy person can go eat.
Correct.
That's
That's
then
true.
why can't you benefit from malacha that was done by someone else on Shabbos usually?
Your question is assuming.
I have a katan.
Okay, but here your question is assuming
Right.
that the shechita is a malacha, and
Yeah,
the
but
and the
cooking
shochet.
malacha, the whole thing is
No,
malacha.
but it's not. That's the whole point. In other words,
You can give a sick person.
In other words, the minute that the shochet is shechting this animal for a deathly ill person, his act of cutting the simanim of the animal is not considered a violation of Shabbos.
The problem
It's
is with
not-
the animal.
So
Yeah.
how
He
about-
hasn't done a malacha.
Okay, but
He's done something absolutely
but when you're
permissible.
implying, say I light a fire on my stove before Shabbos. We know a katan is considered a chola for halachic purposes.
A chola she'ein bo
Okay,
sakana.
okay, no, they're not, okay, that would be different. But I'm saying if the maid cooks already for the chola, then you're not supposed to eat what she's cooking
Well,
on Shabbos.
hang on a second. Wait,
We're
hold
jumping
on.
to modern halacha.
Hold on just a second. Let's isolate these cases, okay?
Let's isolate
You
this.
understand the case that Rob is talking about here, right?
Right.
No problem. Okay. Now Elliot is taking it to a different level. Elliot is saying, what about the case of a non-Jew who does malacha on Shabbos? Are you allowed to benefit from that? So hold on a
What
second.
about the other thing? I have a chola. I have a
Well,
chola. I'm in a
well, with
hospital.
too many
Too many. You
twists.
got to do one at a time. You got
Too many variables.
You're standing on
Wait.
one leg and wasn't.
Wait a second.
I'm in a hospital.
Wait. So everybody understands. So everybody understands the case Rob is talking about here.
Yeah. So in his case,
Okay,
he's
good.
talking about the animal. The animal was not kosher before Shabbos.
Was not
Was
the
not-
animal was muktzah when
Was muktzah
Shabbos
when Shabbos
began.
came.
Why?
No different than-
Why, Jared?
Because it
Tell
was
me
just
why.
an animal.
Because it was just an animal. It wasn't food.
Right. Yeah.
And it wasn't looking like food to the shochet. It was looking like an animal.
Isn't it the same thing with like fruit? If you see fruit that's dropped, you still can't eat it.
No, hold on a second. Hold on. Let's not introduce too many
Okay,
variables.
okay.
Okay. Good. So now Elliot asked the question, and he was correct with his assumption that if the shochet knows before Shabbos that
there's
this person
possibility.
is either he knows that this person is deathly ill, or he knows that there's a real chance that this person
Could be done.
could be deathly ill, then when the shochet looks at this animal, when
It has the
Shabbos
status of
begins,
possibly
it has
being
the
food.
status of food. And therefore it's not muktzah, and therefore not only can the shochet shecht, not only can the chole eat, but even the bari, even the healthy person could
So
eat.
would you do this every single week?
What?
And if you prepare meat, cook meat for sick people who are deathly ill in the hospital.
You're saying cooking, or you?
I'm
You're
saying
saying
you wanna
that's
eat
not
your
much
care.
Yeah, we're talking
On
about
Shabbos.
shechita.
Okay,
Well,
so
it's
first we're
cooking
talking.
also.
First we're talking about
It's like an
shechita.
isolated
We're
case.
talking about shechita. Let's hold on a second, okay? Hold on a second to your
Okay.
question. Okay, let's look at the next case that Rav mentions, and what is that? So that's the case of hamivashel b'Shabbos. Okay, so a person cooks on Shabbos for someone who becomes deathly ill on Shabbos. Now, the cook, is he doing anything wrong?
No.
No.
Why?
Because the person's deathly ill.
Good. Can the chola eat the cooked
Of
meat?
course.
Of course. Can a healthy person eat the cooked meat?
I would say the same rule applies to the shechita, and I'd say no.
Okay, so the answer here is that Rob says yes,
You can eat.
the healthy person can eat the meat. Why can the healthy person eat the meat?
I mean, because it was
The
previously.
healthy person can eat the meat because, number one, there's no muktzah,
That what took place.
right? No, there's no muktzah. Why is there no muktzah?
It's permitted to cook for the deathly ill person.
No,
Because you set
No.
the food aside before Shabbos.
no. No. We're talking about raw food that got cooked on Shabbos, right? And the person became deathly ill on Shabbos.
Right.
So let's take it one thing
Because
at a
it
time.
was meat, because it
The
was
cook.
food before Shabbos.
Wait, the cook. Can the cook cook it on Shabbos?
He said yes.
100%. Because it's a chola sheyesh bo sakana. Okay. Now, can the chola eat it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously, yes. What about a healthy person?
Yes,
Why?
because it was food before Shabbos. You could possibly eat a
Correct.
bit of that
Correct.
before Shabbos.
Because the food, even though it was raw, was still food when Shabbos began, and it could still be chewed. That's the
But-
language
So
which
why
we're
don't
going
we
to
do
see.
that on
Wait a
the
second. It could still be chewed.
I get
Okay,
that. I understand.
that's what Rav says. This is Rav's position. Okay, go ahead, Elliot. Now, what's your question?
I'm just saying, why don't we do that every single week then?
What do you mean? Do what every
Deathly ill
single week?
person every week.
No, for example, you're in a hospital. An Israeli hospital doesn't cook fresh food on Shabbos. The rabbi would kill them if they go nuts if they did. You have deathly ill people in the hospital. According to Rav,
Okay.
the cook can
So
cook
the
the
answer.
food,
Okay. So
and
here's.
everyone else in the
Today's
hospital
day
No,
and
no, no,
age,
no.
we don't need this.
You have a good question. When we get to the line right before the Mishnah, you'll have your answer. Okay.
By Rav.
Right? You'll have your answer when we get to the line right before the Mishnah. Okay? So everybody so far so good? Not done. Yes?
I'm with you.
Okay, good. Says the Gemara, my timer, what's the reason for these two cases? And you basically know the reason because we've explained it. My timer, what's the reason? Hi ra'ui lachos v'hai eno ra'ui lachos. This one, meaning the raw food that wasn't yet cooked, could be chewed. Ra'ui lachos. It was fit to be chewed before Shabbos. It's not pleasant. You don't enjoy chewing necessarily raw fish or raw, well, maybe raw fish you do, I don't know. Raw chicken or raw
I
meat,
don't like
right?
cooked fish.
Right, that's, even though it might not be the tastiest thing in the world and it might not be the easiest thing to chew, chewing a piece of raw meat is not so easy. Nevertheless, it could be done. V'hai eno ra'ui lachos, but this animal, which was before Shabbos, an animal, it wasn't food, it was an animal before Shabbos because the person didn't become deathly ill until Shabbos. So for the healthy person, this food was muktzah, right? This food was muktzah when Shabbos began. And since the food was muktzah before Shabbos began, the animal wasn't even shechted. It was eno ra'ui lachos. There was no way for this healthy person that meat of the animal could be chewed. That's Rav's position. So Rav seems to say that if you shecht for a chola, it's permissible for the chola, but it's not permissible for a healthy person. If you cook for a chola, it's permissible for the chola and permissible for the healthy person, right? So far, so good. Comes along Rav Papa. Amar Rav Papa. Rav Papa says there are exceptions to this rule of Rav. Right? Exceptions to this rule of Rav. Okay. What was Rav's first rule? If you shecht for a chola, can the chola eat it?
Yes.
Can a healthy person eat it?
Depends on when.
Okay, we're assuming that the person became a chola on Shabbos, right? We're assuming that the person became a chola on Shabbos. Can the healthy person eat it? The answer is no, the healthy person can't eat it. Says Rav Papa, Pa'amim, there are times, shehashochet mutter, that when the shochet shechs, it's permissible not only for the chola, but even for a healthy person. And Elliot mentioned what this case was already, anticipating Rav Papa, Kigon shahaya lo chola mi ba'od yom. Right? If the person was a chola mi ba'od yom, in other words, Friday afternoon before Shabbos, the shochet says to himself, oh man, I got Granny upstairs. She's a chola who's deathly ill, and I'm going to have to shech this animal for her. He knows it before Shabbos. If he knows it before Shabbos, what's the status of this animal before Shabbos? It's not muktzah.
How comes it before Shabbos? Why doesn't he just check?
Because he didn't get a chance to do it. In other words, he didn't get a chance to do it. He was very busy. He didn't get a chance to do it. And he realizes, as Shabbos begins, he realizes he's going to have to shech this animal for Granny. So that makes this animal not muktzah. If the animal's not muktzah, the shchita is a valid shchita. It's not a malacha. The chola can eat it. And according to Rav Papa, under these circumstances, A healthy person could eat it as well. Okay. So that's the exception to Rav's first case. What's the exception to Rav's second case? What was Rav's second case? Rav's second case was cooking on Shabbos. What did Rav say? Everybody, permissible to the chola and permissible to the bari.
Generally.
Why? Because you can chew it before Shabbos. In other words, it's not muktzah. You could chew it before Shabbos. So says Rav Papa, there's an exception to that rule as well. And what is that? Mivashel Usser. Rav Papa says there's a case where it's prohibited for the healthy person to eat. How could we have a case where it's prohibited for the healthy person to eat? Let's think about the case one more time. What did Rav say? Rav said, I have raw food when Shabbos begins.
Be eaten before Shabbos.
I have raw food when Shabbos begins, right?
Yeah.
And now I have a deathly ill person. So according to the cook, can the cook cook it?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Can the chola eat it?
Yes.
100%. Can the healthy person eat it? Rav said, yes. Along comes Rav Papa. How you doing, Leo? Along comes Rav Papa to say,
No.
there's an exception. There's a case where the healthy person can't eat it. And what is that case? Says Rav Papa, Kigon shekitzetz lo dilaas. Right? What happened? It's a situation, says Rav Papa, where the food which the chef was cooking consisted of a gourd that was attached before Shabbos began. Now, it's now, right, here's this gourd. I don't know.
Attached to what?
I-
Fine.
To
Oh,
vine,
that's what I was
right?
saying before.
I don't know what kind of deathly ill person needs a gourd, but
Right.
whatever it was,
It wasn't chicken soup.
there's a deathly ill person who needs a gourd, right? Can the cook pluck the gourd from the vine?
Yes.
Yes. Why?
Because the guy's going to die
The
otherwise.
guy's going to die otherwise. Can the chola eat it?
100%.
100%. Even though it was plucked and even though it was cooked, the chola
The
can
absence
absolutely
of
eat
the
it.
deathly.
Can the bari eat it?
No.
Papa says no. Why?
Because it's a malacha
Because when Shabbos began,
It's part of the
where
tree.
was the gourd?
on the tree.
The gourd was on the tree.
Vine, whatever.
Or vine. And once the gourd was on the vine when Shabbos began, it was muktzah to this healthy person. It was also muktzah to the sick person, but now the sick
he
person
got
is
a
deathly
pass.
ill, so we don't really care about muktzah, right? But it is muktzah to the healthy person. Okay, got it?
Got it.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
Makes
There's
sense.
7 healing effects of gourd. That's what I was looking at.
Huh.
Why somebody who
Okay,
is sick.
Natan, you're missing this.
Helps in maintaining
Can you
blood
hear?
sugar levels.
Yep.
Okay, Jonathan is extolling the virtues of
Lowers
gourd.
bad cholesterol levels.
Talmud medicine.
Makes your skin glow.
That's not one of them.
Cures hangovers.
There you go. Might be
I definitely need that.
Might be
But I don't need that
because
till after
of-
Shabbos, so it's not a problem. Helps in weight loss.
Okay, so
Boosts the immune system.
So Rav Papa is introducing some variables that change the situation from what Rav says and make it now prohibited.
if it's
right.
still attached to the vine.
Still attached to the
What if
vine.
it wasn't still attached to the vine?
Then it's okay.
It wasn't?
General
Well, okay,
Then it's the
so,
same
all right, so
situation.
John, without really realizing it, I think, is stepping into the dispute between Rashi and Tosfos. Right? Or maybe he did realize it, I'm not sure. He's jumping with both feet into the dispute between Rashi and
I'm not
Tosfos.
leaving the room.
Right? Let's see. I mean, John, you're coming back in a big way here. Let's see what Rashi and Tosfos are arguing about. So look at Rashi. Rashi says here, look down at Rashi. It's Rashi. It's about halfway down in Rashi. It says Kigon shekitzetz dalas.
Yep.
You see it?
Yep. Bean.
About halfway down in Rashi. Go up higher, Bart. Keep going, right around there somewhere. It should be near the end of the line. Bold letter, bold font.
There's three
Kigon
little lines.
shekitzetz dalas. if you see, guys, if you look all the way to the left, you see that fancy line all the way to the left with like the ball in the center and
Yeah.
All right. So count up from there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines. Right. It says Kigon Shekitzeitz Dalas.
I know, I'm trying to look upside down, it's hard.
Oh,
That's right there.
Bart doesn't have the.
Oh, Bart.
Well, this is a little different.
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
Kigon, Shkitzeitz Dalat?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the Rashi. Okay.
Right there. Okay.
So what does Rashi say? Rashi understands it exactly as we just explained it. Kagon shekitzeitz dalas min ha-mechubar. You cut, right, the chef, what did he do? He cut off the dalat, he cut off the gourd, min ha-mechubar, from something, it was attached to the vine. Ubishlalo, and he cooked it for this chole. The yeshkan iser muktzah. There's the iser of muktzah is present. Why? The mechuberes hayisa bein hashmashos, because it was attached when Shabbos began. And remember, we said whatever status the object has when Shabbos begins, that's the status that it has all of Shabbos. So since when Shabbos began, this gourd was attached according to Rashi, it is muktzah. And therefore, even though the chef is allowed to cut it off the vine because he's dealing with a chola sheyesh bo sakana, and he's allowed to cook it because he's dealing with a chola sheyesh bo sakana, and the chola is allowed to eat it because the chola is deathly ill. Even though all of those things are true, the healthy person cannot eat it. Why? Because according to Rashi, when Shabbos began, the gourd was muktzah. Why? Because the gourd was still attached to the tree or to the vine, however gourds grow. I think they grow on vines. I think you're right. All right. Let's look at Tosfos. Okay. Tosfos is the second on the right side of the Gemara, the second Tosfos down, where it says Kigon shekitzeitz lo dalas. Piresh bekuntris. Piresh bekuntris. Tosfos begins by quoting Rashi. And he says, Piresh bekuntris, the word kuntris means notebook. Rashi is referred to as the kuntris because Rashi kept his commentary in notebooks. So he's the notebook guy. Mm-hmm. So he's referred to as the kuntris. Piresh bekuntris, midenakat kitzeitz, since the language which the Gemara used is kitzeitz. And we generally interpret kitzeitz as harvest, right? To cut off. Mashma, this implies, says Tosfos quoting Rashi, the Iri min ha-mechubar. That what? That we're dealing with a gourd that's still mechubar. Mechubar means attached. It's still attached to the vine, right? We have this similar tone mechubar. Let's think for a moment about sukkahs. If I want to build my sukkah out back in Jared's backyard, and I want to take the tree branches, and I want to bend them over and use them as schach, can I do that?
No,
Why not?
because it's still attached to the trees.
Because it's still mechubar, right? And something which is mechubar can't be used as schach. I have to cut it to cut the branches off the tree, okay? So Tosfos quotes Rashi, who says that the very language itself, kitzeitz, implies cutting off something which was attached. So Tosfos says vikasha. Tosfos says this is difficult. Rashi's explanation is difficult. Why? The im came, because if that's really true, that the whole problem here is the fact that the gourd was attached to the vine when Shabbos began, my irya mevashel. Why are we talking about a case of bishul? Why are we talking about a case where the gourd had to be cooked? Afilu kilo nisbashel nami aser. Here's the case, right? Let's say that the chola could eat the raw gourd, right? And the the chef cut the gourd on Shabbos and cut up the gourd and gave it to the chola. Could a healthy person eat that gourd?
No,
Why?
because it was the same problem.
It's the same problem. And we don't even have to get involved in the question of
Right.
mevashel. And yet our whole Gemara is talking about mevashel. Says Tosfos, if we want to talk about something where bishul is the crucial component, what are we talking about a gourd that's attached to the vine for? So Tosfos instead says, we're talking about a gourd that's not attached to the vine. Well, okay, if a gourd's not attached to the vine,
Anyone
that's
should be able to eat
so then what's the problem?
because anyone could eat on Shabbos anyway.
Because why should it be muktzah, right? If the
Yeah,
gourd's not
It's
attached,
Isn't it?
It's in a whole,
if the
food.
gourd's not attached to the vine,
and you're not cooking it,
right?
you're eating it raw.
Well, let's say you
What
are
if the
cooking.
gourd,
Well, you're
what
cooking
if
for
the
an ill
gourd is
person,
of the
then
type that it
anyone
Wait,
can
hold
only
on.
be
Natan, what you're saying?
What if the gourd is like only edible if it's cooked? Wouldn't it
What
then
if you
still
can't
be
eat it?
muksa?
So that is precisely what Tosfos is saying. I don't know if you heard Natan, if you all heard Natan. Natan, we'll try to make you a little bit louder.
Gourds aren't edible.
Yeah, what if the gourd is not edible unless it's cooked? It's basically like
Correct.
raw meat.
And that is exactly what Tosfos says. Tosfos says a gourd is not edible unless it's cooked. That's what Tosfos says. That trying to chew a gourd is like trying to chew a sinew of an animal. It's so tough,
Pumpkin or something.
right? That you can't eat it. You can't possibly chew it until it's cooked and softened. And it's interesting. Tosfos
Squash, you know, you really
Tosfos
can't
brings an
eat
interesting,
squash raw.
right? Tosfos brings an interesting Gemara. He brings the Gemara from Sanhedrin. I'm sorry, not from. Hold on a second. He brings the Gemara from. Where is this Gemara? He brings the Gemara from Maseches Tamid. Listen to this Gemara. It is about 2/3 of the way down in Tosfos. Right? It is the last word on the line is kol, and right before it in parentheses is daf chav zayin amid beis. You see it? Says Tosfos, quoting this Gemara in Maseches Tamid. Kol midi lo tifalet kame rabacha, or ribcha. That if you are in the presence of your rabbi, you're not allowed to spit something out. Right? If you're in the presence of your rabbi, you're not allowed to spit something
We'll
out.
remember that.
What? Good. Why is that? Why is that?
Disrespectful.
It's disrespectful, right? Just remember, they didn't like take a napkin and put it. It's not like you would do in a restaurant, right? What did they do? They just spit it out, right? So if you're in the presence of your Rav,
Act with
right?
a little
you
dignity.
have to act with a little bit of decorum, a little bit of dignity, and you're not allowed to just spit food out.
Don't eat watermelon in front of the
Right?
rabbi.
With the exception, says the Gemara, bar mikra chaya, with the exception of a raw gourd. If you're if you try to eat a raw gourd,
Chaya is
you are allowed
word
to
for
spit it
gourd?
out. Kra is the word for gourd.
Chaya.
Right? Chutz mi, except the situation of a kra chaya, which means a raw gourd. Chaya means live, meaning it's
that's
raw.
right.
It's a raw gourd. Why are you allowed to spit out a raw gourd if you're in the presence of your rabbi? Because we can't expect you to eat a raw gourd. In other words, even the rabbi's kavod has to take a back seat
to a raw gourd.
to how distressing it is to try to eat a raw
Bring
gourd.
some raw gourd, sure with me.
Right? Try to eat a raw gourd. Okay? So from here, says Tosfos, Tosfos has a different interpretation of the Gemara, of Rav Papa. What is Tosfos talking about? Tosfos is talking about a gourd that was not yet cooked. Right? So Rashi says the Gemara's Rav Papa is talking about a gourd that's still attached to the vine. Tosfos says no. Rav Papa is talking about a gourd that's detached from the vine. If it's detached from the vine, Tosfos, why can't the healthy person eat it? Because you can't eat
Something that's
a
not
gourd that has, right, you can't eat something that's literally not edible. In other words, you could chew raw meat. You could eat raw meat. You could chew raw chicken. You could eat raw chicken. You can't chew raw gourd. It's like eating a rock. Now, ask John. John, is that accurate?
Some gourds, I would say the majority of them are. I mean, there are some.
Even think about it, if you ever carved a pumpkin up, right? It's like that stuff you can't really
It's very
chew that
hard to
unless you
chew
cook it.
raw, like squash and all that stuff, which are all considered gourds in some levels. So it is.
Right, I can't imagine chewing raw pumpkin. I mean, I
No,
can't.
it's
No,
not.
Right, you need a saw to cut through pumpkin. I
Yeah,
can't
not
imagine
edible that
chewing
way.
raw
It's
pumpkin.
really not.
But it
Right.
makes a great pie.
Makes a great pie. Okay, there you go. Well, I don't think
not
what makes the pie is what you're carving, but probably
Oh, it
the
is.
is
The
it
pie is
inside?
the inside.
no, it
The
is.
inside. The inside's not so hard.
No,
I think
inside
the
sauce. It's
The-
the
it's
outside.
Inside,
that's-
you don't know where the
that's
seeds are, but
It's the rind,
but-
which is very. Anyway, all right. Anyway, so you hear the difference. So John, without realizing it, or maybe realizing it and playing it cool, jumped into this machlokus between Rashi and Tosfos. Was the gourd detached when Shabbos began or not? Rashi says no, it wasn't detached when Shabbos began, and therefore it's muktzah because it was still attached to the vine. Can the chef cut it off the vine?
Yes.
Yes, because he has to prepare it for a deathly ill person. Can a deathly ill person eat it?
Yes.
Yes, because he's deathly ill. Can a healthy person eat it?
No.
because it was still
Why?
on the vine.
Because
Because
according
it
to
was
But if
Rashi,
it wasn't on
because
the
of the
vine,
Rashi, it was
Then
still
it's
on the
okay.
vine.
but if it wasn't on the vine, I still think it's not okay.
No,
because it's
wait a
something
second.
you can't eat.
Wait a second. That's Rashi's interpretation. Now let's do it according to Tosfos. It's according to Tosfos. It's off the vine. Can the chef cook it?
Yes.
Yes. Why? Because it's
Same
for a
thing.
deathly ill person. Can the deathly ill
course.
person eat it?
Yes.
Yes. Why? Because he's deathly ill.
Definitely.
Can a healthy person eat it?
I would say
No.
No. Why not?
It wasn't
According to
food
Tosfos.
before Shabbos.
Not because it was attached to the vine, because according to
Because it's
Tosfos, it
not
was off the
edible
vine.
as raw.
Because it wasn't edible at all raw.
You can't chew
And if
it.
it's not edible at all raw, you can't chew it. So then it was muktzah in its raw state, right? It's like trying to eat a piece of leather,
Right.
right? It's like trying to eat a piece of leather. I don't know. Okay. So you hear the difference between the two, right? And that's the machlokas between Rashi and Tosfos. Shkaya, John. Okay. So now, having said that, we're still going to come back, and we haven't forgotten about Elliot. We're still going to come back and answer Elliot's question. And what is that? So we say as follows. Amar Rav Dimi Minahardai. Everybody have the place? Amar Rav Dimi Minahardai. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines up from the Mishnah. Amar Rav Dimi Minahardai. Rav Dimi from Nahardai says, Hilchasa, here is the halacha, Chevra. Elliot, pay attention. We'll answer your question. Hashochet lachola b'Shabbos. If you shecht for a chola on Shabbos, mutar lebriya be'umtza. What's the halacha? The halacha is the healthy person is allowed to eat it. That's the halacha, right? And we're talking here about a person who is sick when Shabbos began. If there's a person who's deathly ill, who's under the care of the shochet, can the shochet shecht it?
Yes.
Yes. Can the sick person eat it?
Yes.
Yes. Can the healthy person eat it?
Yeah.
According to Rav Dimi Minahardai, yes, the healthy person can eat it. My time, what's the reason? Why can the healthy person eat it? I can understand why the sick person can eat it. But why can the healthy person eat it? Wasn't there a malacha of a violation of Shabbos? In other words, we're going to what Elliot said, right? The chef, was it permissible for the chef to slaughter that animal for the deathly ill person?
Yes.
Yes, it's permissible for the chef to slaughter that animal for the deathly ill person. Is it permissible for the chef to slaughter that animal for the healthy person?
No.
No, of course not. So if that's the case, says Rav Dimi, if that's the case, then a healthy person shouldn't be able to eat it. Forget the fact that it's not muktzah, but how's he allowed to benefit from this maisa bishul that the chef did? Because for him, the maisa bishul was a violation of Shabbos. The shchita, the maasa shchita, the shchita was a violation of Shabbos for him. For the sick person, shchita wasn't a violation of Shabbos. I'm allowed to chef for a sick person. But for me, a healthy person, the shchita was a violation of Shabbos. And here introduces Rav Dimi a very important principle. Kevan di'ef shar lekizayis basar below shchita. Says Rav Dimi, here's the following rule. Okay, the following rule. It's true, says Rav Dimi, that the shochet was allowed to shech the animal for the sick person. And it's true, says Ravdimi, that the shochet was not allowed to shech the animal for the healthy person.
But how could the same thing
But
have this
you
two different
can't-
status?
You can't shecht and not shecht one animal.
Right.
In other words,
One.
let's say that all I need is 4 ounces of meat for the sick person. Is there any way for me to get those 4 ounces of meat by partially shechting the animal? No. Right? Efshar lekizayis basar below shchita. The only way I can get any meat from this animal is if I shecht it.
Yeah.
So because I'm shechting it to provide meat for the sick person, and there's no way to delineate, all right, this
The same thing
part of
can't
the
have two
shechita,
different
You don't have to
statuses.
prepare the
right?
whole
So
animal.
wait, so because I can't, right? There's no way for me to get meat without shechting the entire animal. There's no way to shecht part of the animal. I have to shecht the entire animal. So says Rav Dimi, the halacha is that the healthy person is allowed to eat it b'umtza. What does umtza mean?
Just chew it in.
Chew it raw.
That's the only way the healthy person can.
Only way the healthy person
So
can eat
he's,
it is if it's
this
chew it
Rob
raw.
is saying the cooking is out.
Oh, well.
Cooking is out.
But
Not only is
opposite
cooking
of-
out, soaking and salting is
But
out.
that's out of that's opposite of what Papa said. He's like twisting.
He's not twisting.
It's
He's
not
just saying this is the halacha.
He's saying.
So
Wait,
don't
how,
pass
how
my
do you
brother.
eat it then?
We don't
So-
paskin like Rav, and we don't paskin like Rav Papa.
You
Correct.
can, there's
Oscar
ways you
like
can
Rob
do it.
It's worth a shot.
No, but it sounds like,
Yeah,
it
because
sounds like
there's
they're
ways
doing
to
this
prepare
just.
That's
for
why
us.
Rav Dimi, that's why,
It hasn't,
this is
But
why
Rav
Rav
Dimi
Dimi says
it's
hilchasa.
it's
You're
Or
not
is he
the
saying,
person to
here
know.
is
it's a
the
theoretical
halacha.
concept, right?
Here is the halacha. Right? That's what he's saying. Rav Dimi is introducing it by saying, here is the halacha. Okay, so, right? So now, according to Rav Dimi, let's get this halacha straight. I have a deathly ill person before Shabbos. Right? I have it, is he deathly ill before Shabbos?
What does become?
Yes, he's deathly ill before Shabbos. He's deathly ill before Shabbos. Okay. Can the shochet shech the animal?
Yes.
Yes. Can the chola eat the animal?
Yes.
Yes. Can the healthy person eat the animal?
Yes.
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 Just can't cook it.
Yes.
Oh, he can eat it but can't cook it.
Yes. Why is he allowed to eat it?
Because you can't. check
It's
the
not
box.
muktzah. We know it's not muktzah. Why?
Because he had in mind it
because-
was going to be full
Because the shochet had in mind that it was going to be food when
Because he's
Shabbos
sick
began.
before Shabbos.
But what about the shechita? Isn't the shechita vis-a-vis this healthy person? Isn't that a violation of Shabbos?
It
And the
technically
answer
is.
is
No.
it is.
It is a violation of
It
Shabbos.
would be if
The
you could.
loophole is there.
It
If
would
was
be.
just for the healthy
It
person.
would be if you could partially shecht an animal.
That's the thing.
But
It's like-
since you can't partially
it's-
shecht an
it has to have
animal,
one status.
right? Since you can't partially shecht an animal, the healthy person benefits, and he's allowed to eat it, but he's only allowed to eat it raw, b'umtza. You're not allowed to cook it. You're not allowed to soak and salt it. You could do all those things for the sick person, but you can't do those things for the healthy person. The healthy
You
person
wouldn't
has
be
to
able to
eat
eat
it
it
raw.
anyway if you can't soak it, salt it.
No, we
No,
learned.
you
We
can.
learned
You can.
before. We learned a long
You
time
cut it
ago.
Oh,
Right.
kasai.
Umtza, no, but umtza. In other words,
go deep in, you
right?
cut out.
You're not eating a vein. You're not eating an artery. You're just eating the flesh that is between those things.
By the way, no. By the way, it's delicious.
No,
After we learned that, I did it just to see what.
no, please.
Did you really?
No.
I have had raw meat though, but not like that.
I mean,
No,
when you
that sounds disgusting.
no, when you're making a hamburger, you never took a little piece.
No,
of
I've eaten-
No, but hamburger's kashered already.
Yeah, so that's right, right.
Hamburger's kashered
So
already.
it's
We're
a-
talking
you're-
about
You're
we're
assuming
talking about meat which isn't kasher.
right.
I'm assuming you have burgers.
Assuming that the hamburger. is-
In other words, when I was a rabbi on the Upper East Side, it was at a time. And this was right. I'm here 30 years, so this was prior to
Your
30 years.
anniversary.
Yeah, this was prior to 30 years. They used to sell in this butcher shop. They used to sell unkoshered ground meat.
Oh, really?
It was a whole issue. Like, how could you sell unkoshered ground meat? You
I
can't
mean-
kosher it,
It's really
right? So how could you
But
sell
age.
unkoshered ground meat?
Put it on the
if
bottom.
within
Throw
within
it on the
72
grill.
hours you can put it on the grill.
So you'd have to put it on the grill as long as it was within 72 hours. It was a whole big
Yeah, but it was prepared.
Today you
so
can't buy unkoshered ground meat. It's not possible.
You can make it.
You can make it.
ourselves.
You can make it yourself. You can't buy it. It's not.
Question is, if you didn't kosher the meat before you put it into the grinder wouldn't be kosher either.
That's correct.
So you'd have to have a separate grinder just for non-kosher meat.
Yes.
That's correct.
Or you can
Not
kosher
not
after-
unkosher,
Is there
it's
statements?
not. It's kosher, just not
Are
kosher.
they?
It's, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
I could,
But
yeah.
I'm
It's very hard.
just making.
Okay.
Like, it's very hard to
You're right.
find out.
You should.
It becomes like the it becomes like the boards on which they used to kosher.
Yeah.
The boards on which they used to kosher, they couldn't use them for anything else
Can't
other
cut
than
them.
kosher.
Right.
Okay, other than kosher. Okay, so that's what Rav Papa says, but we still haven't gotten to Elliot's question. We're going to get to Elliot's question now, because Rav Papa was only talking about the shechita, and we understand that you can't separate a ma'aseh shechita into two parts. You know, a shechita has to have one status. So when the shochet shechted ki kashachit adate the chola kashachit. What was in his mind? I'm shechting for the chola. It's permissible to shecht for the chola. The side benefit is that the healthy person is allowed to eat the meat b'umtza. Now Elliot's case. Hamavashel lachola b'Shabbos. This is Rav Dimi giving the halacha. Hamavashel lachola b'Shabbos. A person who cooks meat on Shabbos for a chola, asur lebari, right? It's forbidden to the healthy person, right? In other words, different than what we learned, right? What we learned was that it's permissible for the
Up
healthy
until
person.
now, this rabbi is saying.
Rav Dimi is coming along and saying it's asur for the bari.
He's also saying this is the
Right.
halacha. No, he's saying this is the
Asur
halacha.
for the
He's saying
healthy
it's not my
person
opinion.
on
I know
Shabbos.
that.
It's asur for the healthy person on Shabbos.
On Shabbos.
Why?
It's cooked.
Not because it's muktzah,
No, because
and not because and
He
not
wants to
because
stop
the
people like you.
and not because the bishul wasn't permitted, because it was permitted for the sick person. But look at what Rav Dimi says. Rav Dimi says this is the halacha because of people like Elliot. Gezerah shema yirbe bishvilo. Right? In other words, what's
Because Elliot exists, this
What was-
rule exists.
right? What did Rav Dimi say? Rav Dimi said, I know that in Great Neck in 2018, there's going to be this guy who's going to say, why don't we just do this on a regular basis, right? Along come the rabbis, along come Rav Dimi who say, even though technically midioraisa it's mutter, because there's no Indian of muktzah, so they don't have that rabbinic issur of muktzah. Bishul is permitted because he was cooking for the he's cooking for the sick person. But because Shema Yirbet, because maybe or Yarba, I think it's because maybe he'll add on. Maybe the cook will add on.
he can cook only in one
Right.
portion. He doesn't have to cook. for the whole
Right.
family.
Oh, that's the whole point, right?
Cook just for the sick person.
Because he'll add on, so then we say a healthy person can't eat it. So technically speaking, if you cook for the sick person and the sick person only eats half of what you cook, healthy person can't eat the rest. Can't eat the rest.
Grandma, I made you the 12 steaks you
Yeah.
wanted. Oh, you don't want 12?
Okay.
Can I
All
invite
right.
some friends over?
Okay, so you see, so you have your answer? Sorry.
Sorry.
It would have been useful for hospital.
Yeah, well.
Right, what if he doesn't eat it? He may get sick. So if he eats it, it could help prevent him from getting sick.
No,
That's
No.
you have to wait till he gets
We gotta
sick.
wait.
Let's wait till he gets sick.
Rabbi, if we rewind this and try to apply the Rabbeim that we asked about last time at least that I was listening in, in the issue of what about after Shabbos?
So after Shabbos, the healthy person would be able to eat this meat.
Even
And I don't
according,
know if he would need to wait the amount of time that it was cooked. Probably not.
and what about according to, I'm sorry, I don't remember the opinions off the top of my head. There were three different opinions.
Rabbi Meir,
Liberal,
Rabbi Yehuda,
conservative,
Rabbi
and in the
Yochanan
middle.
Asander.
Right. So I don't remember which was the most stringent, but do you think
Rabbi
that
Yochanan Asander was the most stringent, and he
Yeah.
said that if this was done, if it was cooked deliberately, so then you could never eat it.
right? So I don't know that we
No, but
really,
this is not that.
this is an esoteric question, but would Rabbi Yosef Asandler agree that in this particular case where the food was cooked deliberately, but it was cooked for a chole nefesh, that another person would be able to eat the leftovers after Shabbos.
So I would think, yes, that Rabbi Yochanan HaSandler would agree to that, because the bishul was not a willful transgression. In other words, the act of bishul was technically permissible, right? Just we don't allow a healthy person to eat because of the gezeira of Shema Yarbe. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, on to the Mishnah, Chevra. Oh, I'm sorry, we're going to stop here, and we will pick up with the Mishnah in Yirtzeh Hashem next week.
So then, if technically
Rabbi, I had
it's
something similar
allowed,
to
if
this.
technically it's allowed,
This is the
what's the punishment if you